Hey, what's up, herd watching? So, yeah, we got more to talk about, but let's do something short while I'm on the way home. I was going to do a long video walking you through the legal issues at stake in the election, and then I was going to walk you through some of the voting irregularities and the evidence, and it turns out that that's really nothing you need me to tell you about. There are other channels that will give you that information. I'll be linking to them and highlighting them over time. What I wanted to talk to you about is to connect this with some things that I've been saying for more than 3 or 4 years now, which is the left is currently all in on this situation. So everything is in play. They want the presidency, they control the Congress, and they're looking for control of the Senate. If they win control of those things, the stated goal of a significant portion of the Democratic Party is to grant a general amnesty, add at least one state, and add 4 justices to the Supreme Court, 3 or 4. The specific purpose of all of that is to remove Republican power essentially for the foreseeable future. They want to take control of our government in that way. Wow, I was kind of digging the God rays there. So, given that that is the stated goal, I want you to understand why it is that there's a belief that maybe they would be willing to go to extraordinary measures to win this election. Remember, for 4 years, the expressed opinion of the Democratic Party is that Donald Trump is the face of fascism, totalitarianism, racism, homophobia, xenophobia. They've been using terms that are apocalyptic in nature. And when you believe those things about your opponents, or more importantly, when you've told the people who follow you, because I don't believe the leadership of the Democratic Party believes any of those things, that this is what's at stake, I don't think it's beyond the pale to believe that your people would go along with a plan to save the country by rigging an election, by manipulating an election. Now, so that's motive, right? Method would be, is such a thing possible? And yes, it is possible. Remember that people with close ties to the Democratic Party, the Nancy Pelosi in particular, are the people in charge of the Dominion voting software and the Smartmatic voting machines that it runs on, that all the swing states use, and that all the people in the election system in those states are all Democratic Party loyalists, many of whom in high positions who have publicly stated on social media that they believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the survival of democracy. So you have a motive. These people either genuinely or purport to believe that democracy is at stake. You have method. They have the power to manipulate the voting software and machinery necessary, and to do so bypassing the oversight that would normally be a concern, because everyone involved in the oversight process is a Democratic Party loyalist. And then you have the opportunity, thanks to COVID-19, the Democratic Party managed to spend months fighting a series of lawsuits, the specific purpose of which was lightening the controls for verifying and double checking who voted and how they voted, by going to pure mail-in voting, by destroying a lot of the safeguards around registration, timing, address verification, signature verification, the requirements to be registered. We now have an opportunity where the only thing protecting the election would have been the integrity of the people involved. And those people had every reason to act without integrity in this way. So we have motive, we have method and opportunity. And now I think there are legitimate questions to be answered. Now, I may not like the answers. that come out. But I think the only way that we move forward is to legitimately explore those questions. We have to have real recounts, real audits, real systems in place that are actually observed. We need an audit of the Dominion voting system. We need to see the logs. The court process has to play out. But for some reason, the left is not going to let any of that happen, and that becomes very suspicious. Now, all the while, we have Joe Biden talking about unity and how the Biden-Harris administration is for all Americans. While he's saying that, on the streets, Black Lives Matter and Antifa are beating Trump supporters in our nation's capital. Video after video after video, not of a fight between, highly charged political opponents like the Proud Boys taking on some Antifa types, like all that stupid. And I could talk about who was at fault in those altercations, but okay, those are altercations between groups of, highly charged people, and it's like any bar fight, everybody's at fault. But when you see a elderly Trump supporter walking away from a crowd get sucker punched in the back of the head, and then when he goes down to the street, a group of Antifa types dressed in black come up and kick him in the head. When you see a father and a mother and their children huddled together as they walk down the sidewalk, as they are accosted by groups of Antifa types who are pushing them, screaming at them, yelling at them, threatening their lives, following them back to their hotel, throwing liquids on them, stealing things out of their hands. Are you really going to tell me that that is a legitimate anti-fascism tactic? No, it's not. This is fascism. This is what the brown shirts did. This is what Hitler did. The Hitler parallels here are real. It's just flipped. The script has been flipped. The people running around attacking anyone who dares express an external opinion that's not theirs, those are not Republicans. And so if the Bidens, if the DNC thinks that the path forward to unity is to, throw an election into chaos, then refuse to acknowledge legitimate questions on the validity of that election, and then call for unity while your acolytes, and they are yours because you've been funding them, bailing them out of jail, refusing to prosecute them, refusing to condemn them, while your acolytes gather together and beat the crap out of families of Trump supporters in the street the moment they separate from a crowd like hyenas or jackals, you've got another thing coming. And I know that the right is very proud of the fact that we, generally speaking, follow the law. But I don't think I'm saying anything that anyone isn't thinking when it's like, there is a limit to how far you can push a group of people that own 330 million guns. Like, I think it might make better sense. If you want to talk about unity, great. Get BLM to back down. Get Antifa to back down a little bit. Ratchet down some of the violence that's coming from the left. Let the court cases play out. Assist in the recounts. Assist in the audits. You own all the organizations in play. So there is no opportunity for the Republicans to steal a legitimate election through recounts and audits. There's no mechanism for that to happen. The only thing that could happen that would be bad for the Democratic Party during a recount is that somebody finds out that they did defraud this election, and somebody would enforce the law, and that the Democrats might turn out not to have won the election. But that would be legitimate, and that should be the outcome if that's what happened. So anyway, I don't understand it. Now, I'm going to cut this video a little bit short. I just wanted to update you guys on where my head is at. What do I think is going to happen? I think that we're going to wind up in the worst case scenario. I think legitimate questions are going to be raised. Legitimate evidence is going to be presented that real issues are going to be found with the vote, but that the court system, and I'm including the Supreme Court in this, are going to be too cowardly to take action to restore any sort of integrity. I think the GOP itself has no interest in fighting that fight. So I think what we're going to do is wind up with a election that, you know, a significant portion of the country has no faith in, and legitimate reasons to back up a lack of faith in it. And they're still going to be told to suck it up. And then on the heels of that, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the DNC are going to move forward with a planned restructuring, radical restructuring of America, which is going to include months and months and months of lockdowns, a series of executive orders aimed directly at constitutional rights. We're going to see censorship tighten up. We're going to see the Second Amendment under assault. We're going to see attempts made to radically restructure the power of the American public, the American system, during a time when most people don't have any faith in this. You're creating an intensely dynamic situation, as a number of commanding officers would have said. And I think that's not the way to go. I think the way to go would be let the audits play out, let the courts play out, visibly cooperate, get Antifa to calm down a little bit, and then if you win, you win. Great. Will the Republicans be happy about it? But no, but there's a difference between losing an election and feeling like an election's been stolen. And I mean really stolen. Not like 2016, where we heard for 4 years from the DNC that the Russians stole the election because they bought, less social media traffic than Justin Bieber gets. I mean legitimately stolen this election. And I think it might make sense to try and see what we can do to work together to work through those concerns. If they're legitimate, they're legitimate. If they're not, they're not. And then we can move on. But if you think you're going to be able to have an election this chaotic and then shut down any investigations, or worse yet, make them a sham, spend all the time on your media, because it's your media, claiming that it's ridiculous to have any questions and that the goal is to, shut up and get in line. Meanwhile, you're going to lock us down for a year and attack our fundamental rights and call that unity while you allow your followers with impunity to assault anyone who disagrees. I think you're going to find that that's not going to work very well. I don't want that kind of chaos. If we lost, we lost. The country has survived hundreds of years with a back and forth of power. That's not the end of the world. But if somebody really has gotten crazy enough with the rhetoric, and in this case it would be the left, that they see their opportunity to seize power in a historical way, with their stated goal being to rebuild the structure of American power for a generation or two, then we are in times that are going to be, again, highly dynamic. Okay, take it easy. I'll be doing more of this stuff, but I wanted to throw a quick video out because I had promised it to you guys earlier. All right, be safe, everybody.